Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today will be part 2 of our interview with Worshipful Brother Tyler Dobie.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have our usual group of hosts. We have Brother Craig Graham from Kalamalka Lodge number 160 in Vernon, British Columbia. I'm Matt Appel from Mill Creek 243. We meet in Molly Terrace, Washington. We have Very Worshipful Brother David Colbeth from King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn, Washington. And Very Worshipful Brother Stephen Chung from Prince Charles number 153 in Kelowna, BC. And we're very happy to have with us again Worshipful Brother Tyler Dobie, who's the Worshipful Master of Kootenay Lodge of Education and Research. Tyler, welcome back to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
So I want to clear a couple things up before we get too far. One of which is I totally knew last episode, but I was just being coy, that the 90% threshold for a constitution change, if it gets over 2/3, then it gets carried over to the following year. It requires 2/3 the second year.
We were talking about passing resolutions in the last show.
Right.
If you didn't hear about it, we were talking about resolutions. Tyler had a couple that he had submitted, and they were being complained again about my overzealous nature with resolutions.
I totally knew all that. But it was actually I said at the end of the last episode also that we, just for the record, we have two lodges of research here in Washington. They are codified as their own thing in the Washington Masonic Code. There's the Walter F. Meyer Lodge of Research number 281 and Eastern Washington Lodge of Research number, I want to say 305. That's another thing I should probably know, out in Spokane. And we each, Walter F. Meyer, I'm a member of Walter F. Meyer. We used to publish like a book every year of the proceedings and the articles and stuff that people had submitted. And unfortunately, I don't think that's happened for some time. We still do meet, and there are presentations done and that sort of stuff. We had as a teaser, our next guest is T. Damien Steffen, who's not T. Damien Steffen. Oh, well, now I look like an idiot. T. Lucas Minton. T. Lucas Minton, who is a Grand Officer in Arkansas, and he was one of the presenters there once, and he did it. It was so they do have presentations still. They just aren't as publishy as they used to be. I remember getting emails from them asking for articles, but I don't think anyone's actually submitted a written article in some time. Anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Our lodges in Washington are actually they are chartered, right? So in theory, they could make Masons, although they don't. No, I'm sorry. That's right. Go ahead.
There's actually a subsection of the code that specifically says what a lodge of research is, and one of the points in it is that they may not perform degrees.
But they are chartered.
But they are chartered numbered lodges. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a weird nebulous region there.
Yeah.
Some jurisdictions do it a little bit differently. They warrant lodges of research, but they number them separately.
Interesting.
So I was looking on the Arizona website after our meeting, our conversation with Jamie Paul Lamb, and there's 3 or 4 of them listed there, and they're all listed as like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So they're warranted separately, and I would expect it's the same thing in their code as in Washington State. The lodges they're different, but they don't number them on the regular register.
And the other advantage in Washington is that they're not subject to per capita like the other lodges are. But yeah.
I like the licensing feature. I think I would like it to be longer and not have to do it every single year, but I do like the licensing idea.
Is that mostly just a formality, or is it like you send in a letter and the Grandmaster goes, "Oh yeah, those guys," or is it like you have to prove that you've had X number of meetings and that sort of thing?
For us, we just ask, basically. I mean, there's no kind of follow-up questions, but one would imagine that it's, making sure that the Lodge of Education is still active, that, they're still doing things. So if the DDGM were to say, hey, these guys aren't quite pulling it off, then maybe there would be a question in the license getting renewed. If there's no members, or if it starts to fold, well, maybe that request to renew the license wouldn't even go in.
Is there a minimum codified process like there is for a chartered lodge? I mean, do you have to have 10 members or 20 members or 5 members or?
No, the Constitution is really just, one little paragraph about lodges of education and research, that they're licensed at the pleasure of the Grand Master.
Oh, so it's not a big cumbersome process to start a lodge of education and research.
We needed 3 sponsors originally. So we had Most Worshipful Brother Alan Tomlins was one of our sponsors. Right Worshipful Brother Will Trowell was one who really spearheaded the initiative. And Right Worshipful Brother, his name is escaping me, but he's the secretary of Corinthian number 27.
What qualifies them as sponsors?
I guess, those 3 definitely have stature in the craft. I don't know that there's a specific requirement, but the sponsor of a lodge of education is kind of expected to steward that lodge of education and research, support it in getting formed, being sustained, and staying strong.
I see that Brother Will was a presenter on your YouTube channel here. One of the things I asked about in our last show was, is there a particular paper or presentation that you've done that you're really that's your jam?
I would say my favorite that we've had was Brother Andrew McWatt, who was the District Education Officer of District 8 at the time. He made a presentation when we were in Cranbrook doing the District Education Day there, called In Search of That Which Was Lost. And his premise was that the formula for cement that was used in the Roman Empire, that recipe was lost. And so his point was, if you see the domes of different cathedrals and things back then, well, there's no cracks in the cement and the concrete. Like our concrete and cement, it lasts a decade or two and it's fallen apart. So he said, that he read this really interesting paper. Now, this isn't specifically Masonic, but he kind of tied it in, and it was, the builders of ancient times. And so he read this scientific paper himself that kind of inspired him to write this paper about how they've kind of deconstructed and figured out that there was something to do with using lime and this kind of alchemical process that what they did differently in making the cement that made those domes that are still lasting 2,000 years later. So that was just really interesting, and how he tied something that was scientific and concrete into kind of a Masonic theme around it. But yeah, we've had some great talks. Let's see. I could mention a few others.
If we were to say, hey, Brother Tyler, we want you to come and, whether virtually or in person, come and give us a talk, and we say, I don't know, we don't have any preference. So is there one you could say, yeah, this is the one I really want to talk about? Or do you generally tailor the message? Do you talk with them? And I mean, how do you decide what you're going to present to a lodge?
Usually the speaker or myself is working on something of their own. So I'll just let the speaker decide what they want to speak about. For myself, it's always some random personal interest that I've decided to look into a little more. I haven't told anybody what I'm going to talk about at the retreat, but I've got this ritual book where there's no full words in it. It's one of those old ones where just the first letter of each word is in there, but the introduction is all about the Essenes in ancient Israel, and it was kind of talking about Freemasonry, but using them. And I was like, well, that made me want to look into it a little more and go, how much of this of our traditions align with, some of those other mystery schools from ancient times. So, it's usually the speaker that's going to drive what they want to present about. I've always just left it completely open to, hey, if you want to talk, that's great. What do you want to talk about? Yeah. Leave it open.
Very cool. That can be.
Tyler, where, in coming into the education side of Freemasonry, I mean, you obviously had an interest in it from sort of the beginning of your Masonic career. What are your personal areas of interest in Masonic education?
Well, the esoteric side of things, I would say, long before I joined Freemasonry, I read a lot about the esoteric type stuff, and not to practice it, but just in theory. And so I've absorbed so much of that, and it just gets my imagination going. So one of the presentations I made was about the Testament of Solomon, and it wasn't a biblical text. It was something that came on much later, and I can't even pronounce the word, but it's the type of text where it is attributed to an author, but it's not actually by that person. So it wasn't written by King Solomon.
You're thinking it's either apocryphal or pseudepigraphical.
Pseudepigraphical, that's the one. Thank you.
Yeah. No, there's a whole body of biblical and parabiblical literature that falls under that title. Yeah. No, that's good. I've often had interest in that myself. I've got a small library in the back. I've got about 70 books on the subject, and I've been a Mason I was initiated almost 30 years ago, so it's been a while for me. But any books that stand out that you've read that you really liked over the years?
Well, the Secret Teachings of All Ages is just so rich, by Manly P. Hall, where he's talking about all the different mystery schools in ancient times, talking about, what were they about? What were the mysteries that they were revealing to the initiates? So, the Odinic rite, I had no idea about before I read that book, where the 9 worlds of Norse mythology were actually the degrees or the rooms that they would take the initiate through in the different caves. So that Manly P. Hall's stuff was really, really interesting, because it's amazing how young he was when he was writing, and he didn't join Freemasonry until much later in life, even though he was writing about it a lot when he was really young. So yeah, the esoteric stuff, the Rosicrucian stuff, there's so many different branches of stuff that's kind of related but not necessarily. Yeah, I mean, Kabbalism I've read a lot about. It's interesting. Yeah, it goes on and on. There's quite a few.
Well, if you end up doing a meeting on the Hive, and it's going to be streamed and live and in person and interactive, by all means, let me know, because you're too far for me to just go and pop into one of the local lodges in your area for a meeting. But it definitely sounds like fun to be able to do. Just a little far for us.
Our annual regular communication that we did in August, myself, Right Worshipful Brother Trowell, and a few others presented, and we were streaming it live on the Hive. And then one of our presenters was the chair of the education committee, Dan Zed, and there were some great talks. So we had as many people tuned in online as were physically in the room. But the recording unfortunately didn't work out for that one, so you missed out.
Have we talked about the Hive? What is the Hive?
So that's a Discord server. So Discord being a chat platform, you can do video meetings like this, but it's a private server that's by invite only. So we're vetting each person before they join that server to make sure that they're an active Freemason in our jurisdiction. And so there's over 300 members of that server now. And it's amazing how we can connect across geography. We can have conversations by voice. So I've gotten to know brethren from Vancouver Island that I've never met in person. But we're 2 days travel away from each other. But I helped Brother Ryan Cora was sort of the spearhead behind that in setting it up. But it was good to talk through all the technical details of how we're going to set that up. There's so many nuances to it, but it's a great tool. I'm looking forward to it continuing to grow, because the connections, some of the guys say, well, there's too many channels, but it's like, I've been part of different Discord servers where you got to have all those different subtopics, because you can't just, a Facebook group, you just have one channel of different posts. This has a different channel for each lodge, for the events happening in each district. There's specific channels for different types of education. It's pretty active.
Huh. So to get on the main Hive access, you have to be a verified Mason, Master Mason.
Yeah. We allow the entered apprentices and fellow crafts, but there's roles so that we can actually lock certain channels down to, if you've got the Master Mason role, you can see this channel. Otherwise, it's invisible to you.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we verify membership either with a lodge champion or with the secretary of that lodge, so that, if somebody takes a demit, they're going to get removed from the server. It's only Masons of the BC and Yukon jurisdiction that are allowed in.
Interesting.
Sorry, David. Matt.
Well, we have Discord down here too, but it's there's just one more channel for communication. There's so many different variations of ways to communicate these days. It's cool. I mean, I think it's cool, but choosing, we went through that with our lodge, just with a small microcosm, is okay. How are we going to communicate? Because there was a couple of guys that refused to be on social media, and we're like, okay, well, that's fine, but okay, so we're all here now as leaders. There's 20 of us around the room. What are we going to use? Band or Discord or Facebook or something? What are we going to use? And we already had Facebook Messenger group chats that were kind of working, and they all said, let's just keep these going and not have to go to something else. And so it was kind of officially declared that yes, Facebook Messenger chat. And so a couple of guys had to create Messenger accounts just to have access to the chats. They're not on Facebook. They don't want to be part of that, which is fine. I mean, and now in theory, you can have a separate Meta Messenger account, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's trying to find the best way to communicate with people. I was just working with our prospect manager now for our lodge, and I've kind of been the guy for a long, long time. And we were trying to figure out how to communicate with these people that are seeking interest in masonry. We get a contact us form, but then there's a phone number and email address. And do we call them and text them and email them? And, but how many different ways do we want to reach out to them? And unfortunately, it's just yes to all of them. You really you can't choose just one, because a guy may not, even though he emailed you and put his email address in, he may not pay attention to his email, but they'll text you back. But it's just funny.
And different platforms have their strengths and weaknesses.
For sure.
Like we all get so many emails, but for a conversation, that's not the best way back and forth, especially among a group. But but a chat channel allows that, and Discord's kind of neat because you can thread the conversations so that there's separate threads. I've been in chat channels where there's just like several conversations going on at once, whereas this way you can kind of separate them. That thread can go on, similar to on Facebook, where you'd have a post and have comments under that post.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to work better for dialogue and for.
So do you have
discussion?
Do you have you should be kind of related to those presentations that occur on there? So is that another feature function, I guess?
Yeah, because you can have video chats. We have presentations that are like a Zoom meeting where somebody's on stage, they can share their screen. The only downside is it's not got a built-in feature where you can record. So we've got to use a third-party software to record it. Whereas Zoom, that's one nice thing is you can just check that box. But yeah, we do live presentations. Hasn't happened all that often, but it's something that the platform allows for, and that way people from all over the province jurisdiction, because I guess it includes.
So curious, and don't mean to go down a technical rabbit hole, but you're a fellow geek, and so I'll ask, why not have a link, a privatized link in the Discord channel to a private Zoom channel that is a private Zoom meeting? Then you could do the recording much easier and all that kind of stuff.
I guess, for the first few of the Kootenay Lodge of Education and Research meetings, I did both. So gotcha. I kind of had two different devices, and it's a little clumsy and cumbersome, but the Discord, I think it's kind of neat just because it's a private server. I mean, a Zoom meeting, same, you need the link to get in, but we're just trying to drive a little more use out of the Hive. Sure. And everybody's already there. So it's so easy to join. You just click on that presentation channel and you're in it.
Yeah. Right. And last year they tried to took their first attempt at streaming Grand Masonic Day. And I believe they're going to do a better job of it this year.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Right. And there's lodges that are using it for practice, because like on the island, some of the guys from one lodge, they might each have to drive an hour and a half to get to the lodge hall to practice opening and closing. Right. Well, this way they can do it a lot easier and more often.
I'm glad you mentioned that one, Stephen, because I think that's one of the killer applications of it is people who are practicing for their entered apprentice or fellow craft exams, they can hop on and practice with anybody. It doesn't have to be their coach. But then for other ritual, you can practice over a phone call, but that's just one-on-one. With a chat server, then you can have as many people as are there practicing the whole degree, and that conversation channel can be private to the people that are doing that practice. But yeah,
is that's allowed under the secure place for instruction theory? Is that?
It's a completely private server. Yeah.
I think in Washington, I'm not going to cut this out. I mean, I could cut it out, I guess, but and our future Grand Secretary is listening here, but I think we're not supposed to do open and closing over video, at least not publicly.
Well, that's the thing, is this isn't public at all.
No, I mean, not even even if we considered it a secure, like even if we had a Discord server or a secure channel, we're not supposed to broadcast our opening and closing. Now, I can't say that I've never done a video call with a brother that's in a private setting and had, done mentor work with him, but I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, see, one of the pluses to the Hive versus Zoom is Zoom, anybody with the link can get in. So and plus Zoom can be recorded. You can't do recording on Hive, and only members that are vetted are in, right?
Yeah.
So and everybody, when they come in and they're confirmed, their vetting is done, then they're assigned their roles. So and an apprentice couldn't tap into a Master Mason channel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You can lock down Zoom pretty well, but I mean, to a point when during COVID we had analog communication on Zoom and it was all secured. I mean, it was a process. There was like 7 or 8 of us that were assistant Tylers, verifying and vetting guys, but we did do analog communication via Zoom twice, actually.
Yeah,
I would wonder. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like practice. Whether you're practicing in person or getting together with your coach over the phone, it's just working on that memory work. And I like what I like about the Hive is it gives you access to more people.
Yeah,
you might not know that guy, but he's happy to help you work on your work. And
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Very cool. So what's next other than July? What's next for the Kootenay Lodge of Education Research?
Well, in the previous episode, I mentioned the May meeting that we've got happening in the cusp with Troy Sprue and Ken Christopherson will be there.
What's the date of that one again?
That's May 13th. It's a Wednesday. It was the only calendar date that Most Worshipful Brother Christopherson had. But that Memory Palaces Everywhere presentation, I'm really looking forward to. And then, of course, our retreat in July in Fernie. That's big. All our members have access to our digital archive, which has like well over 300 books that are in the public domain of, the 100-year-old tomes and more. And then after July, it's just a matter of organizing. We have one regular communication per year. So that's in our bylaws, where everything else is just an emergent communication. So August will be our regular communication, just haven't decided on the location for that yet.
So since the Education Research Lodges are licensed, if I'm a member of one of that lodge, am I a member of BC UConn? Technically?
No. I'm going to say no.
Right.
But we do have members that are we've said our membership is open to any lodge of a jurisdiction that is in amity with BC and UConn.
Yeah.
But you're not, your dues card is electronic. You're not paying a per capita through us to the Grand Lodge. So, I mean, it's only $25 to be a member of our Lodge of Education. But yeah, I mean, it's not quite the same as being part of your warranted lodge.
Yeah. I guess I'll have to join Craig's lodge when he becomes master.
Later this year.
Yep.
Well, he's going to practice tomorrow night.
Nice.
Yeah, that's right. Are you going to be there to heckle from the sidelines, Dave?
Unfortunately not. No.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to come down in the lower podium there with the Fisher Price steering wheel.
One of those squeaky gavels.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, while I'm running the lodge meeting, so somebody will keep telling me you're doing a great job down there.
His worshipful master won't be there, so he gets to run the lodge meeting from the little podium down below. But he's tall enough; it'll look like he's up there.
Nice. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tyler. It was great to have you on the show. And as always, I always forget to say this, but here it is. If you're listening to the show and you have thoughts on what you'd like to hear on a future show or questions for Tyler or for us, please, in all the social medias, we're there and all the podcast apps. So check us out. And if you have any questions or thoughts, please let us know. As long as they're good thoughts that tell us how great we are. We don't want to hear that if you don't like it. So I kid. We're always open for improvement.
And we'll put the contact information for my Lodge of Education in if anybody's interested in attending our Masonic Education Retreat in Fernie this July. They can reach out to me/us and for more information.
Cool. All right. And with that, on behalf of Craig and Stephen and David and myself, thank you all for listening to the Working Tools podcast. And thank you, Tyler, for appearing on the show today. It was great having you.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Goodbye.